This is Roger Struckoff with Syscon TV. It's day 2 at the Javits Center in New York, CloudEXPO, June 2017, and we're joined by Steve Wilkes with Striim. Steve, thanks for coming, and we were talking a little bit beforehand. He gets it, cloud and all that it entails. We'd like to talk about that. So explain to people why you're here, what you do, and you're kind of unified or very what's the word I'm looking for? Complete vision of cloud computing. Thank you. Well, welcome, by the way.
Thank you. And one of the reasons that we're here is because this is CloudEXPO, but it's also Things Expo. There's also big data tracks, analytics tracks. And the Striim platform is a full end-to-end streaming integration and analytics platform that is middleware that covers a lot of different use cases. Some of those use cases are helping customers build hybrid clouds. Some of them are involved in analyzing IoT data or delivering data into a data lake in real time. But all of it is around real-time data that needs to be processed quickly, that people want to get insights from quickly, but it covers all of the buzzwords here.
Yeah. So the Striim, the interesting thing is, you mentioned data lakes, which I think are important, but sometimes it can be a little bit too close an analogy with water. In fact, it's much more complex than that.
Yeah, and I think there's been a lot of talk recently around how data lakes have failed and issues that people are having, they're turning into swamps. And some of that is the idea that you can just throw stuff in there and analyze it afterwards without even thinking about it, that it's just raw data that somehow you're going to get value out of. And what we've seen with our customers is they're taking things a little bit more methodically, and they're using our platform to manipulate, pre-process the data, get it in a form that's ready for querying before they land it in a data lake, and doing that kind of a use case at a time. But then also being able to move some of the analytics that they would have done after the fact once the data landed in the lake, moving that into real-time analytics so they can get insights on the data as it's being collected.
One of the things is just because it's unstructured doesn't mean it's incoherent, and I mean it shouldn't be. And I guess sometimes I make these analogies, and sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't. But one is like occasionally in the world of the PC, in the world of Microsoft Word and the open source alternatives, sometimes you open up a document and it doesn't read it right, and all you get is garbage. And you're looking at that stuff, that's unstructured data, and it's absolutely incoherent. I have no idea how it's generated or what you do with it. And if in a data lake, same thing. If you're just filling it up with P's and Q's and all this stuff, it doesn't do any good. So just because it's unstructured doesn't mean it's incoherent. Am I kind of on the right track?
It's more than that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, unstructured data can be incoherent, or if you're just taking, say, machine logs, and you're throwing those into the lake and then harvesting them afterwards, they contain a lot of useless information, a lot of rubbish that you don't really need. But it can also be difficult to work with in other ways. If you think about IoT data, for example, and you have data coming off devices, it might be structured. It has a nice format to it. It has some syntax that stays the same, but it might just have like a device ID and some readings. Device 37981 is 70 degrees, whatever, right? That information, although that data, does not have enough context in order for you to actually really make sense of it. But and I'll give you an example, what people have done using our platform. If in memory, as you're receiving that device data, you can join that with information, say, from an asset database and enrich it so that it has a lot more context, and then you land it in a lake, or you push it out onto Kafka, or you actually do the analytics in real time. Because you have that much more context, you can make much better decisions. So you may now know that this device is actually attached to this motor on this machine, and this is the parts history, this is when it was last ordered, this is the warranty, and you can maybe do predictive analytics based on that information, and because you have much more context, it's just richer data.
Are you imparting that wisdom to your customers? I mean, you're finding people that maybe don't really realize this fundamental aspect of handling all the data types.
Yeah, it's definitely something that people are recognizing. And if you go back to basic information science, there's a big difference between data and information. If you have a device and it's sending out a temperature reading every second, and in an hour you've got over 3,500 data points, But if the temperature stayed at 70 degrees that whole time, then that's not much information. It's one piece of information, it was 70 degrees for an hour. And so, other than pings saying, yeah, we're still alive, we're still at the same temperature, you don't need all of those data points. And if you have even faster data that's higher frequency, maybe you're measuring a motor on a jet airplane and it's measuring 1,000 times a second, you don't need all of that data for future analytics if it's stayed the same. You just need it when it changes. But what you do need to do is react if something goes wrong instantly. So within a microsecond, if the engine speed suddenly dropped, you'd want to deal with it straight away. But you don't need all that data for later analytics. You can condense it down.
Right, that's the whole thing. Is sort of the real-time challenge versus the archival or the mining challenge we used to call it, or the I don't know if it's fishing challenge if it's out of a lake or what you call it. Doesn't matter. People know what it is. Do you think, this is an odd question, it just occurs to me, with all the increasing speeds and performance and capacities that we have, can people get sloppy about this? Just figuring that I'm not going to overwhelm the system with data per se. And they're not going to worry about trying to be smart about determining what's the information they need. Does the faster performance make you more prone to error in a way?
Well, I think it makes people more prone to wanting to get results faster. Yeah. And one of the, there's a lot of things that's changed over the last few years. It used to be people could store a lot of stuff because storage was getting cheaper and cheaper. And hard disks and flash memory and all those things was getting cheaper and cheaper, so you could store more and more things. Yeah. But at the same time, CPUs have gotten more powerful, you've got more cores, and memory has got massively cheaper. So you can now have machines that have a lot more RAM, and you can do a lot more processing in memory before you ever touch the disk. And that means that you're making faster decisions. So one of the predictions actually from IDC, a study they released a couple of weeks ago, they have this nice graph where the data production is exponential, and it's going to grow to 160 zettabytes, that's 21 zeros, right, by 2025. Yes. But storage is stagnant. It's not going to keep up, and the predictions range between like 3 and 15% of data you can actually store. So it's pretty obvious that if you cannot possibly store all the data that's being generated today or in the future, the only choice you have is to process data in memory before it ever hits disk. And it's this notion of processing streaming data in real time that has become really popular. People are talking about it a lot more now because of IoT. But what applies to IoT also applies to all of other data, because there is no data in this world that's generated as a batch. It can be processed as a batch, but data is always generated event by event.
And so tell our viewers again sort of what specifically does Striim bring to the table, and what are you solving for your customers?
So what Striim brings to the table is a full end-to-end streaming data integration and analytics platform. And this platform does everything from real-time data collection, in-memory processing of data, in-memory analytics, delivery to other enterprise systems or into the cloud of either raw data or processed data or results of analytics. And we also have the capability to build real-time streaming dashboards on top of all of this to visualize this, send alerts, and effectively building analytics and integration solutions using a new breed of middleware.
Okay. You can look at his shirt, but also how people are going to find you?
They can go to striim.com, STRIIM, search for Striim, and or look at this show's website, and you'll find me on there, and you can click through.
Very good. That's how you do it. Thanks for joining us. That was great, and thanks for watching for Syscon TV. This is Roger Struckoff.